Our semester project focused on Squirrels carolinensis, commonly known as the eastern gray squirrel, and the average distance at which it fled from an approaching human observer. In this project, we defined squirrel flight as sustained movement greater than 5 meters. Squirrels are found in oak hickory forests, parks, backyards, and urban environments. They use hollow tree trunks and high leafy branches to make nests. Their diet consists of bark, berries, seeds, and acorns, and they use the scatter-hoarder technique where they hide food for later consumption. Their predators include hawks, raccoons, coyotes, foxes, cats, snakes, owls, and dogs.
Animals must assess the risk level of predators within their environment so that they can respond in flight or fight ways. Humans and urbanization pose a threat to animals living there. This human presence can be defined as environmental disturbance through traffic and industrial noises produced by human activity in the squirrel's environment. In research by Bateman and Fleming, squirrels in urban areas were desensitized to certain aspects of human traffic. They found that squirrels in New York City were adjusted to human attention, allowing them to avoid unnecessary startles when human behavior is predictable. For our experiment, our hypothesis was that squirrels living on Bridgewater College's campus flee at a shorter distance than squirrels living in the George Washington National Forest.
Materials needed for this experiment are markers, a recording device, we used a phone, a pencil, paper or a way to collect the data, and areas where there are squirrels, in the woods or on campus. You'll also need a measuring device. These are important definitions used in the methods. A scan is defined as a squirrel looking up to assess their surroundings, while a strike is defined as a change in the squirrel's focus from the environment to the ground below it, for example, retrieving food. The total distance is defined as the distance from the squirrel to the observer at the start of the trial, while the fleeing distance is defined as the distance from the squirrel to the observer at the end of the trial. First, we located squirrels on Bridgewater College campus and the George Washington National Forest. The squirrels located had to originally be on the ground to begin the trial. We placed a poker chip on the ground when a squirrel was located and began to approach it at a consistent walking pace, looking parallel to the squirrel without looking at it. We recorded the strikes and scans of the squirrel until it fled. When the squirrel did flee, we placed another chip on the ground and then walked to the location where the squirrel was before it fled. We recorded the total distance in meters as well as the distance at which the squirrel fled. This completed a trial. We repeated the methodology 15 times in each environment, disregarding trials that were disrupted by an outside influence.
This first graph shows the average distance at which the squirrel fled from the observer. 16 squirrels were recorded on Bridgewater College's campus, and they fled at an average distance of approximately 4 meters. 15 squirrels were recorded in the George Washington National Forest. They fled at an average distance of approximately 11 meters. Our standard error was 0.6.
The second graph shows the average number of strikes and scans for each group. This data was collected using the same individuals as the previous graph. Squirrels on Bridgewater College's campus had an approximate average of 2 strikes and scans. Squirrels in the George Washington National Forest had an approximate average of 1.5 scans and 1 strike. Our standard error was 0.3. We believe there is a difference in the average number of strikes between the two locations.
Our research found that squirrels which live on the Bridgewater College campus fled from approaching humans at a shorter average distance than squirrels that live in the George Washington National Forest. During our testing, we also found that squirrels living on Bridgewater College campus displayed more strikes than those from the George Washington National Forest. These results support our initial hypothesis. We encountered no variables that contradicted any of the literature citing. Our findings were consistent with those of Bateman and Fleming's study using a similar premise and methods. Further, in their 2015 thesis, The Effects of Urbanization on Fear in Wildlife, Spear and Fontaine found that squirrels living in urban environments were able to correctly respond to predator model stimuli. In 2013, Lowry, Lill, and Wong published behavioral responses of wildlife to urban environments, which found that some animals, are able to adapt quickly to urbanization due to their ability to distinguish humans from predators, while other animals cannot adapt quickly enough and lose their habitat. They found that fox and gray squirrels were able to easily colonize urbanized areas, while other wildlife were hunted and removed. These studies, in conjunction with our research, suggest that squirrels do not view humans as predators. The implication then becomes that squirrels that are acclimated to urban environments have changed their behavior to disregard the presence of humans so long as human behavior remains consistent and non-predatory. With this and future studies, we gain a greater understanding of the growing impact of urbanization and human presence on wildlife behavior.